Struds, what was that jacket you were wearing? What was the brand?
I don't look at brands, TR. I just look at style.
It was trendy. I figure someone told you, one of your kids told you to wear it or something.
That was
my
a
wife
Mr.
did.
That was a Mr. Dirk special
It
that he
was.
had
Was
on
it?
last
I
night.
noticed
Yeah, it
'cause
was.
those are real trendy, cutting edge, kind of new, kind of fit. You picked that out yourself? Well, that's
No.
No,
TR,
no
I'd never
chance.
pick that out.
No.
I love the fabric. It hugs. It's like a grandma's hug.
You just kind of walk us through what you saw, and then more importantly, I guess, what you felt.
I don't really have anything to add. That's all. Thanks.
Yeah, no comment from Connor McDavid last night, but we certainly will here on the podcast today. Welcome to Got Your Back, presented by Mr. Dirk. Today on the podcast, Jason Strudwick, Terry Ryan, and myself will break down another loss for the Edmonton Oilers last night, and we'll get in depth on that hit from Alex Edler to the knee of Connor McDavid. Boy, did the air ever come out of that building when that hit took place. Also on the show, we're going to dig in our takeaway segment to the goaltending situation. Another big divisional matchup coming up on the weekend with Vegas rolling through town. Skinner took the loss. We've all seen Campbell lately, so who should get the start? We will debate that courtesy Sherwood Buick GMC in our takeaways segment. This has Got Your Back YEG, brought to you by Mr. Dirk, located just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Mr. Dirk is your one-stop shop for all your clothing needs. All of them. If you're a businessman needing to look sharp at your next meeting, or if you want to sharpen up your look around the office, they've got a wide selection of amazing suits and shirts and ties, shoes, and help you make a statement that you are on top of your game. And if casual is what you need, they got plenty of that as well. Jeans, pants, shirts, sweaters, belts, shoes. Mr. Dirk is a great place for quality clothing of all types, and we're thrilled that they're our title sponsor here on Got Your Back YEG. As we say good morning to the fellas, Chris Sabunia, sick but pushing through in Kelowna. Terry Ryan showed up topless for work again today. We've convinced him to put a shirt on. Thank you for that, Terry. And Struddy, speaking of Mr. Dirk, you had a solid look going last night on set, pal, and I think that was courtesy Mr. Dirk.
Yeah, no, it's a really good job. They're doing a good job framing a very nice work of art. And so I give them a lot of credit. And I thank them. My wife loves it.
TR, you like the look he had going last night, eh?
I do. You're right in the zone. You're in the sweet spot of the bat. Like I said, soon enough, like right now, your hair, you're losing it, but it's perfect. But soon it's going to be gone, right? It's going to be gray and it's going to be gone. You got good structure to your face. I told you, you're cut like your jawline is Superman-esque. But again, soon enough, it's going to be more wrinkly and probably have a little bit of jowl. So you right now are in the sweet spot of the bat.
How much time do I have, doctor? How much time do I have?
You know,
This is as good as it's gonna get.
3-4 years. How many months is that? Now, you're not going to
Get me
look
over
poor
50.
after that. I'm sure you're going to be a gentlemanly, good-looking, kind of traditional old man. But it's coming sooner than later.
Well, the good news is, Struddy, the side of your closet that has all your current clothes before Mr. Dirk, those are all going to suit you when you are an old man. Because, as Shona explained to all of us, you've been dressing like an old man for like 25 years, so it's a good fit. We need to give a kudos here to Zuby. How banged up are you, buddy? When we were chatting before we started recording, you sound like just an absolute pile of garbage.
Today's day one. This is day one. It's just starting. My daughter's been not well, and so I'll probably just lock myself in down here for a few days in the hole, and I'm probably 65%, but I have a feeling that's going down before it goes up.
He pushed through last night he's the goalie on his team, though, guys, and he pushed through last night and showed up despite feeling bad. Like, TR, you still playing a lot of hockey. Nothing worse than when the goalie doesn't show up. Hey, you appreciate a tendy that shows up sick.
Oh, goodness. That's probably the biggest selfless play you can make is to show up when you're one of the two goalies to escape because, you ruin it all without. So hats off to you, Zuby. I didn't realize that was the case.
Thanks, buddy.
How many goals against?
Oh, I gave one away in the third. I think it was 5, and we were up 3-2 and going into the third. and I let the tying goal was I made about 3 saves, and the guy roofed the second rebound, and then the fourth was
listen to
an
this.
absolute muffin. The fourth was the winning goal was a complete
Mm.
muffin. It was a good opportunity, but he fanned on it, basically trying to go, and I was moving up high because that's where he thought he was shooting, and he trickled it through the wickets. So that was sad. That let my team down on that one for sure. But I showed up, so
Love
Did
to see
they,
the video. Love to see the video of these.
Did they
I
make
love
you
it.
feel
Yes.
bad? Like, did they make you feel? Like, what happens when you let in a terrible one at your age playing men's rec? Do they come and tap
No.
your pads, or do they just let you sit in?
No,
your
they're
shame.
it's a good group, and I'm very Jack Campbell-esque. I take the full brunt of it. I say that one's on me, boys. No excuses. It was a bad goal, and like I said last night, I can't have Jack Campbell. Oh man, no, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying
You
that.
can't say it.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Okay. Boy.
No, I'm gonna stop right there.
Jeez.
Listen to this guy. Goodness. Well,
Now, what
thanks for
about
showing up for
Schauger?
work.
I mean, as long as we're going around the room and picking out different things about people
What
that
do you
aren't
got,
desirable.
boys?
We did
Come
Struds,
on.
we did Zuby. I'll
Right.
do
Come on.
Schauger.
Go ahead, take your best shot. I
You are
woke
great.
up. I'm
Wait, no, it's not really a shot. It's just, I guess, in a comment on what I'm seeing right now in your life. You're a
Yeah.
good-looking guy. You're really, honestly, in some ways, striking. If you're in the right shape, you've got that same thing. A handsome. Your 5 o'clock shadow comes in after like 1 hour. But here's the thing, Struts. We've been used to it for a while. He's losing his hair, but he's got a face that kind of matches. It's not going to be too much of a take. But when you do, like it's thinning out up top, you're gone. Right now, you're a 9 out of 10. But within 2-3 years, any more at all, and my friend, you become a 6 pretty quick.
I
He's
feel
gonna look-
I feel so complimented and so shattered all at once.
Are you suggesting in 3 years he's going to look like an old Al Bundy?
I'm
Okay.
suggesting that's very possible. Yes, we're trending that direction. I mean, like I said, you're a great-looking guy. There's something about it. I mean, there's something about it. I can confidently say that you are a great-looking guy. One of my friends that really seems to have it together. But soon enough, those looks are going to deteriorate. As are mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My relatives live to be 100, though, so I'm just still. I mean, I might as well be 20, boys.
There we go.
So
All right.
just,
I don't even that
have a good
stings
show.
actually. That stings. Yeah, good show. This was fun. Wow. I've completely lost track of what we're supposed to even be doing now. I'm just my
Rayjean Houle
soul.
is calling me right now.
Oh, Ray-Jean.
Rayjean Houle.
I call
Okay,
him about tickets. We get along now. Back in the day, we were at each other's throats. Now he's a nice old man.
Yeah.
well, look at you making friends. Okay, we got a hit we have to talk about last night. So enough of this nonsense. Let's get to the breakdown. See you, Zuby. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. DLR Vinyl supplies some of the nicest maintenance-free fencing and decking products out there. If you've always had a wood fence in your backyard and it's getting a little sketchy, time for a change, really give some thought to going maintenance-free. No more sanding, staining, no more worrying about upkeep. It looks amazing the day it goes in, and it stays that way for decades. If you're a contractor that installs fences, you definitely have to look into DLR's post-pounding system. No more messing around with concrete and digging massive holes. It's better product. It's more simple to use. DLR Vinyl can show you how. They've got locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. That is DLR Vinyl Products. Okay, Struds, you had lots of time on the broadcast last night to pontificate your feelings on the hit. We will get to your feelings in a moment, but TR, let's start with you. What did you think of the hit that Edler threw on Connor McDavid?
I knew what he was doing. He widened his stance. I think it's been around forever, but I think it's extremely dirty. It's the last thing anybody wants is to have Connor McDavid out. And it's just frustrating. There was always guys like that. We can go back to, what was it, Ulf Samuelson or Samuelson?
Ulf. Yeah.
Ulf, was it? Brian Marchment. Like, there's been people that do it, and there's also people say, "Oh, back in the day, there would have been a brawl." Sometimes people are good at getting away from it, but to come out of that even, I think Nurse got 4, didn't he? It's just disappointing to watch when again, if I'm on that team, guys, especially if I'm fighting for ice time. I'm sorry if he doesn't fight me. I'm sorry. I crack my stick right over his laces, right over them. You can't do that, and I'll take a 5-game suspension. Hey, I should be in the AHL, but I don't know. I guess we're not in that era anymore.
Struddy?
He has a history of doing this, and he's the kind of player, when a guy like that does it repeatedly, you hope he gets hurt, right? And I'm being completely honest. I hope that he blows his knee out. I hated those hits when I saw them when I played, whether I was on my team or on the other team or another team. He has a history of it. And then he acts like, oh, what do you mean? It was an accident. Don't tell me it was an accident. TR said it perfect. He widened his legs. He's bracing himself for contact on the other person's knee. So my wish for Edler is that he blows his knee out and then he sees what it's like, because it's eventually those guys get their own. And I would like to see him get hurt. It's a gross play, and the league won't suspend him. They don't care about that stuff. Hitting from behind and knee to knee doesn't seem to bother him, but I hate it. I thought it was a gross hit.
So the history of it really is what piles on here. That hit in isolation, not a good hit. I'm not going to suggest that it was. We've seen more egregious examples of guys sticking a knee out on a guy, a little bit more obvious. You see it flare out. He went in wide, and I don't know that he moved it a ton, but still, when you're the hammer, it's your responsibility to make sure you don't take out the nail's knee, right? You got a guy vulnerable. You got to hit in a way, lead with your hip, lead with your shoulder. You can't widen your stance and allow yourself to go leg on leg with a guy that might not see you coming. So the responsibility is his, but it's the history here, right? That one in 2013 at the Worlds on Eric Stahl, that was brutal. And he was suspended internationally 4 games for that. We saw a video surface last night reminding us of the hit on Hyman that ended up with a suspension for a couple of games. So this player has a history of making these hits. This player also has a history of not necessarily standing in there and answering for his actions. And last night, Darnell Nurse went over. Linesman got in the way. Edler, kind of covered his face. Didn't really want much to do with that interaction. I thought the Oilers handled their business, but Struds, this is where old school meets new school. The game isn't really like this anymore, where there's these scores that need to be settled and the linesman's got to just back away and let them go, or Connor shouldn't get the penalty for the cross check, right? Those are all old school thoughts being applied to the game as it exists right now, and things just kind of aren't like that anymore. But nights like that, you wonder if maybe they shouldn't be.
Well, I'll start with the cross-check. I thought Connor McDavid, he was a 2-minute cross-check. And the thing you have to understand is a guy just hit you. Everyone's watching for your reaction. So people are saying that Edler flopped. Connor got a good wood on him. He got his 2, in my opinion, he got 2 good minutes out of it. But as far as the fighting, you know what? Even if the Lions don't let him go, Edler's not fighting. He's going to grab onto Nurse and hold on. Like, that would have happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's not happening. He is a career rat. And he'll continue to be a career rat. And honestly, I like him as a D-man. I thought in Vancouver he was a really good D-man. He's effective. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to suck you in, and he's an undercover rat. So he does a good job. But I don't think that if the linesman backs up, all of a sudden he's like, okay, he's taking his helmet off and spinning it and fighting. Like it's just, he's going to hold on. Nothing's going to happen, or his teammates jump in. So you have to just hope that the karma police get him. And I believe before his career's end, he will.
This is when, God rest his soul, guys like Greg Bird, Doug Smith, their importance shows through and through when they play on a team like this and something like that happens. Look, I know, like I said, like we were watching it last night. I actually watched it with a few of my buddies, and I agree with Struds. Like there have always been rats, right? You just wonder if it would be so frequent if Dave Semenko was there. I mean, that's a question, I guess, that we can just keep hypothetically asking forever. But it's frustrating. Most of the time, I guess that can bring a team together, how you deal with it. It's nowadays you'd hope to put the puck in the net on the power play, but it didn't happen. But these guys are going to play a lot. There's a lot of emotion built up. There was 7 games last year in the playoffs, this sort of thing. Not saying if it was frequent, but there was a lot of hitting. There was a lot of emotion. So maybe some of that spilled over. I know that if I'm Edmonton, I'm banking that, right? And Weasels can get out of it most of the time, but I'm serious. I'm dead serious when I say this. And I wasn't the kind of guy with intent to injure, but if I saw that on Connor McDavid, I'm playing on the Oilers again, and I don't play a lot, I'm breaking my stick on his laces, and I'm taking the suspension, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, there's the old term is waste one, right? If you're going to waste one, make it count. And that happened a little bit more back in the day. It doesn't happen a ton right now. Definitely changed the emotional temperature of the game. The thing that I noted was McDavid was down, and while the fight was happening or the scrum was happening with Nurse, McDavid hopped up right away and went skating over past the referee towards the Kings bench. He was pissed at something that was said to him while he was down. I think the Kings bench was on him last night when he was down, and he skated over there almost to sort of chirp back at them like I don't know if they told him to get up. I'm not sure if it was Doughty or who it was. But I asked McDavid about that post game as we go to the Weiss Johnson sound box.
You were looked like a lot of jawing going on, but did their bench come at you a little bit when you went down there, or like it looked like you were maybe getting an earful from them?
Teddy likes to talk a lot out there. That's all.
So the temperature of the game emotionally changed quite a bit. And I think that it stayed that way for much of the game. There was a lot of jawing out there. There was a lot of chirping. But, Struds, I also sensed quite a bit of frustration. And I thought frustration set in for some of the Oilers. I'll start with Leon Draisaitl. I don't recall seeing Leon Draisaitl play that ineffective a game in a long, long time. In fact, I was questioning if he was healthy for the back half of that game because there was an interaction where he went and I think he banged into Edler heading towards the bench. And I thought, oh, did he kind of pop a knee there? And then for the rest of the night, he just did not look right last night.
So they're frustrated because the Kings play one of the most annoying styles of hockey. The 1-3-1 is painful. It feels like they've pulled their goalie and put an extra goalie in their net. So for those unfamiliar, basically what they do when you're breaking out of your zone, they back up and place a player at the red line, 3 across the blue line, then 1 just inside the blue line. And that is to shut down the Oilers' rush chances. The Oilers I'd be surprised if they had more than a handful of rush chances because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to skate. They're forcing you to dump it in. They're not allowing you to carry the puck over the blue line. And then they just gum up the front of the net. Like there was no room. I really feel like the Oilers, the bulk of their chances, if you want to call them that, were from, well outside of or by the dots. And they're trying to shoot from there because everything else was being blocked. I mean, Bouchard, it's well documented how many shots he had blocked from the point, but there were shots being blocked from all over the place. And the Kings, they did exactly what they wanted to. Their game plan worked. They gummed it up and, to use your word, Shogger, frustrated the Oilers. The Oilers were very, very frustrated because it's a hard game to play. I hated playing against teams that played like that. It's not fun to play it or to play against, but give the credit to Tom McClellan. He put a game plan in that worked perfectly against the Oilers last night.
It really did. You could tell, right? They knew what they were doing. They were making the first move every time. I was surprised. Kevin Fiala's their leading scorer. He's a third liner. Like, that's the kind of team they are, right? They're going to come at you. They're going to come at you. This is early. I think it's great that they got that kind of test. Edler made that run, but McDavid isn't hurt. Message sent, message received. Right now, okay, here we go. Right? No one's any worse off for it, but now we know exactly what's going on, and you've set a tone, haven't you? I kind of like it. That's the way they're going to play. They come at you. Better to get used to it early than late. Better to be reminded. I don't know. I've seen them lose worse this year, but I haven't seen them as frustrated. So it's interesting, if nothing else. And each team is going to play each other a lot this season, likely. So who knows what's in store.
Am I being too hard on Draisaitl, though, guys? Like, did he stand out to you? I mean, and he stands out when he's not brilliant, I guess. So maybe it's whether it's fair or not to point out. I just found most of what he tried wasn't working. He was having a hard time completing passes. He was having passes just bounce off his stick. That never happens to Leon Draisaitl. He was, on the power, things just were not working. Things just were not working the way they normally do for Leon Draisaitl for whatever reason. A lot of those long, slow changes, frustrated. He had a lot of talks with, the referee. He just one of those nights where, he was one of those guys that I think, if he could have gotten his head clear and put his head down, that's what it was going to take to push through this team, was him at his best in the way that they were playing. And I felt it was an off night, Struts.
See, I think that Connor McDavid in his postgame talked a little bit about, they did what we expected them to do. But I don't think the Oilers were mentally ready for what that was going to feel like. It wasn't fun. It's not a fun game of hockey to play out there because it becomes a trench warfare is what the Kings want to turn it into. Then they want to counterpunch on you. So, I think that Leon is just one of many forwards that have been frustrated in that style of game. And it's hard because, the Oilers had, I thought around the 6-7 minute mark with 6 minutes to go in the first period, I thought the Oilers started to get a little traction, but the traction was in the offensive zone. But TR, it doesn't mean you're translating that to good offensive chances. Like, of all their half-court offense, I don't think it really created that much. Even though they're in there, they were being pushed to the outside, and their game was on the outside, on the wall, which in theory is good because you're in the other team's zone, but you're still a long ways away from scoring a goal in that moment.
And the Oilers got some players with egos. I mean, good for good reason. That lead the charge. What's the word? Leon Draisaitl has he doesn't have a great poker face. Those when he starts long changing, and do you guys notice? You're at the game.
Yeah.
I'm at home watching.
Oh, yeah.
But usually it's like, okay, it's time to check out. Like he starts that, and you can see it. He's frustrated. He's showing as an athlete. Steve Yzerman. I remember a quote when they won in the '90s, and there was a lot of bad blood going on, especially with Colorado, those old rivalries. And I remember an interview, and he said, you just can't show your frustration. I'm here, and I'm the captain, and you just can't show your frustration. And you can't. And if you can't do it in Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final, maybe. Now, is it human? Yes, of course. Are they leaders that are still learning? Yes, right? And last year, they climbed a huge mountain. But in my opinion, that if you're Leon, I don't know that you should be. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know that you should be showing your emotions so obviously. Now, some of those things, that's often the reason that you're a competitor. Harnessing that energy the right way and putting it back out there, I think that's the challenge. Of course, you're upset. That's why you're a competitor. That's why you're playing where you are. It's just he's got to get a little bit better at showing that on the ice, but I don't think it's a major thing. It's just, when you can tell, if you're an opposing team and you can tell that one of the best players in the league just folded tent, then, it's a huge momentum builder for your team.
It's been a career-long journey for Draisaitl with the body language. Hey, Struds.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it for years and years. Yeah. I mean, and let's be frank here. I mean, he's so good on so many nights that if this is the thing that you're talking about Leon Draisaitl, there's a lot of worse things you could be discussing. But this is something that's crept into his game, and it's very, very clear where his head is at pretty much every game, because it's either puts his head down and back checks and goes hard, or it's the head goes back, the long shoulder moving like this, head bobbing back and forth, long slow change. Hey, like it's pretty noticeable. Hey,
it's not just to the other team though. If I'm on his line, if I'm a young guy, I can't imagine Mark Recchi doing that. I would want to go crawl in a hole and stay there. I would never want to go on the ice again. If there's someone you look up to, so there's also that.
Yeah, you're talking to about being an energy giver and energy taker. So when Leon or anyone plays like that, the other team draws energy from that because like, oh, we're in his head, and you love it. And you're talking about it on the bench. And then on your bench, you're looking like, oh man, there's one of our best players. If he's rattled, maybe I should be rattled. Maybe things aren't going that well, right? So you've got to manage it. And it's hard. Like when you're a leader, it's not always fair. Being a leader isn't always fair. When you're having a bad day, you can't show it, or you shouldn't have to express it because you're leading the rest of the troops. And it's hard. It's not fair, but when you're the leader, that's what it is.
You know who was taking that energy? Arvidsson was taking that energy. He was loving. He was loving what he was getting out of Draisaitl last night. He knew he was on the right side of it. That Draisaitl was on the wrong side of it. He ended up with 3 assists. Really effective night for a guy that isn't afraid to stir the pot. Okay, let's get back to the Weiss Johnson soundbox, and we'll remind you it's a great time of year to look into the furnace for the garage. Winter is here. And if you want to let that family get into a nice toasty warm car, give them a shout. They've also got some season end air conditioners at 15% off right now. The showroom is at 5803 Roper Road. It is Weiss Johnson, and they're coming to install a garage heater for me early next week. Cannot wait. Sick and tired of my freezing cold garage. All my batteries freeze over the winter. Can't keep stuff in there, chemicals and such. Now that's all going to change. So looking forward to having that. Let's go to Jay Woodcroft here on that exact. Actually, you know what? We're going to go back to Connor McDavid, Strud, because he talked exactly about the game from LA that you described.
That's the game they want to play. We knew that. They want to sit back and, kind of just be above guys all the time. And, there's nothing new. They didn't come out and surprise us with anything. And, sometimes that's just the way the game script goes. It just kind of went exactly how they like it.
Felt like there was quite a bit of hooking and holding, and the refs kind of let some of that stuff go, let it be one of those games. And I think that's part of what McDavid is talking about, the game script. If it's going to be a night where the refs aren't calling a lot, that's a game that they're going to have to figure out a way to fight through, Struds, because if that's a formula on how to play against the Oilers, more teams are going to do it. And what's the way you battle through that sort of muck and frustration?
We have to be engaged right from the get-go, and the Oilers can talk about the game, or Connor talks about the game script and not being right for them. But in reality, the Kings had 3 glorious chances in the first 5 minutes, which included a breakaway with Anze Kopitar.
How about that? Talk about not being ready.
Yes. So we can talk about what the Kings did. How about the Oilers didn't do? And they weren't ready to defend right from the get-go. Or the first goal by Moore. Moore is left wide open. So just think about this, Terry. You would have just loved this one. Moore is wide open on his one-timer side in the slot and just walks in and just hammers one home, and no one's looking for that guy. So there was numerous times where it was strong side tap-ins or plays, just quick little plays from below the goal line to the guy on the strong side. So I get it. I get that you don't like what LA's doing, and it's frustrating, but you have to take care of your own house. And I think that is what was being missed last night. We can talk about, hey, it's not called. Let's talk about Hyman on Doughty. That was from behind. That wasn't called. Like, don't tell me it's not from behind. You can, if that was the other way around, that guy would have made it out of the rink alive. So, this I understand and I sympathize with the frustration about playing against the Kings, but in reality, the Oilers were not ready to play that style of game. And you're down 1-0, then that team's like, oh yeah, here we go, baby. Let's lock these guys down, and they get frustrated, and the game's over.
And TR, it's been a bunch of games for the Oilers too, where they come out, they're getting outshot like 10-1 in the first 8 minutes. Last night it was, 12-2 with 6 minutes left in the period. Like, coming out and letting the other team jump all over you, whether they were quality scoring chances or not, it's clear the ice is tilted in a way that they're not getting off to great starts here.
No, they're like, part of being a pro, man, is that 82-game schedule. It sucks to play these games in November, and the Kings are going to play every game like that more often than not. Anyway, all year they're playing playoff hockey all year, and like you said, that first goal by Moore, that was exhibition hockey. I mean, again, these are mistakes that are corrected in Pee Wee, but outside of that, these guys got to look down. They're going to have the battle. Okay, obviously. You got to rise to the occasion. I know it's early, but it's a game of momentum, and it's tough to get momentum and stay with it. You got to really grit. Last night you had to really grit, right? You had to grit your teeth. You had to go out there. You had to hit. You had to do everything that's hard to do. I mean, not every game is going to be Thanksgiving weekend against Carolina or Columbus at home, right? It's going to be like this, and they're going to come at you. In my mind, honestly, I think it's a positive. I really don't think it's time to hit the panic button. Not that anybody said it was, but I watched last night. I think they'll be fine. I think that once in a while you need a little bit of a wake-up call, and I just don't know that they've been playing that kind of hockey all year. I think it's been more run and gun than it's been really in-your-face kind of scrummy hockey. So a little bit of a wake-up call. I think they'll be fine, but they really got to tighten it up.
I think they could have used the emotional game. Big hit happens, some frustration. It's getting nasty out there. I thought they missed Evander Kane last night in that game. I think Evander Kane is a guy that would have found a way to cut through the emotion, cut through what the Kings were doing, and just figured out a way to get a few extra, good body checks in, maybe tilt the ice a little bit in the other direction. I thought they missed him in that game last night. All right, that was the thing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
I was going to ask you guys, you're at the games, okay? Now, I've seen at least 4 times where right off the face-off, is it a set play against Edmonton? Are people realizing that they're sleeping off the draw? Their D get really wide apart, and it's like teams pick up on that, and there's often a chance right off the face-off. I mean, you often go the whole year and you don't see that. I've seen 4 just with my eyes watching at home in Newfoundland on TV. Is that a thing, you think?
Like second shift last night, Struddy, they got hit with it again. It might have even been earlier than that.
Yeah, no, I think Thierry's right. I think it's awareness by the D-men, right? You just playing inside the dots. It seems like a simple concept, but when your player drifts out of the dots, you follow him, and that opens up the middle of the ice. And so I think you're right. And it's just awareness, but there's just little details. The Oilers aren't a horrible team. They're just little details they have to clean up. And then we go either talk about that TR or the first goal. And some of these other chances, like, oh, mama, it's tough. Even the Kopitar breakaway, he drifts out, Nurse goes with him, boom, puck comes right up the middle of Kopitar, and he's gone.
Last point I'll make, just to back up the Draisaitl point, 3-11 in the face-off circle, 21% last night for Leon Draisaitl. Okay, that was the breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. Lots more to come, though, because up next we're going to discuss the decision facing Jay Woodcroft. Which goaltender do you go with the Vegas Golden Knights rolling through town on Saturday? Skinner, or is it time to get Campbell back in there? We'll ask the fellas and discuss coming up next. You're listening to Got Your Back, presented by Mr. Dirk. Joined now by Sterling Dirk, right inside the beautiful store over at Mr. Dirk. Sterling, time for a little rapid fire. You up for it?
I'm ready. Here we go.
All right, true or false? You took on title sponsorship of this podcast for the sole purpose of fixing Jason Strudwick's mess.
True. His wife came begging for help.
It's going to be a long, beautiful relationship. It's going to take us a while, pal. All right, true or false? If someone's frustrated looking at their wardrobe, doesn't like their options, it's immediately $1,500 to make any change.
False. You start with one item, you build it up. It's like anything in life. You just need to kind of start placing those pieces and then adding more and more, but it doesn't need to happen all at once.
True or false? Suits are the main thing that Mr. Dirk offers.
False. Actually, we carry a wide array of product from jeans, shoes, socks, underwear, t-shirts, casual wear. I mean, we specialize in tailoring, but we are head to toe for all of our clients from weekend to regular everyday office.
Great stuff. Check out the shop just off White Avenue at 102nd Street. And for all their stock, visit them online, mrdirk.com. Thanks, Sterling. I'll see you soon, buddy. I'm due.
We'll see you soon.
Hey, Struddy, question for you. Have you ever tried putting in your own fence?
I sure have. Between digging the posts, mixing up cement and digging the holes is absolute killer.
It's brutal on the back. Well, listen, what if I told you you could put in a fence without having to dig a hole or mix any concrete?
I'd be much more likely to come over and help you out.
Yeah, well, you're not the first guy I would call, but thank you for that. Listen, my brother's company, DLR Vinyl Products, they've come up with a system where you can actually put high-quality vinyl fence in the ground without having to dig a hole, without having to mix any concrete. They can teach do-it-yourselfers how to do it, and they can also work with contractors who might be looking to start installing vinyl. It's super high-quality product. The great thing about it is that it has fantastic longevity. You put it in, you don't have to worry about staining or sanding or anything like that. I've been lucky enough, Struddy. They've put in multiple fences in my different yards and they've built me 3 decks. I have totally abused the fact that my family is in the fencing and decking business, but it's great product. Give Rob a call in Calgary or Rick a call here in Edmonton. This is a company my dad started. It's a family business. I'm super proud of it. That's DLR Vinyl Products in Edmonton and Calgary. All right, time now for takeaways brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. It's the #1 GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years running. And have you seen the all-new redesigned Sierra 1500? It is gorgeous. A wide variety of trim levels are available. I just picked one up. I've got the Elevation. It's white. I love it. But the Denali Ultimate is regarded as the most advanced and luxurious in its class. And Sherwood Buick GMC actually has inventory. A lot of places are struggling with that right now, but they can get their hands on vehicles for you, and they can do it quickly. They got tons of great used vehicles as well and are wide open for trades. That's Sherwood Buick GMC. And you can visit them online to check out what they have at SherwoodBuickGMC.com. Okay, fellas, let's dive into the goaltending situation. I thought Skinner was decent and gave his team a chance to win last night. Here is the setup. Campbell's last start was brutal. That was, last Thursday night, I want to say. So it has been a week since he's gotten into a game. The Oilers have Vegas rolling through town on Saturday. This is a legit team within their division. So do you go back to Jack Campbell, who's now had a number of practice days to try and get his head screwed on straight? Or do you go with Skinner, who took the loss but played decent last night? Struds, if you're Jay Woodcroft, who are you tapping Saturday?
Oh, this is an easy call. I go back with Skinner. Jack Campbell needs practice time to get his game in order and feel comfortable with what he's doing out there. I believe there may be some tweaks that are being made between he and his goalie coach in little parts of his game there. He's halfway in between. He's not, he hasn't fully committed to what he's doing new or what they want to change, and he's not doing what he used to do. So that little time, or those little tweaks or changes need time to accommodate and give him some chances to work those into his practice habits, and then they become game habits. So I'm going to give him some extra time. Skinner's been playing fine. Right now, the Oilers are very fortunate that the guy who's supposed to be their starter is in a bit of a rut, but the backup is lifting up his game and supporting the team. Skinner last night, he did not lose that game for the team. In fact, he made some really important saves at key moments, including the Kopitar breakaway moments into the game. So for that reason, Skinner starts on Saturday. Then I reevaluate and start a new chain of events starting after that on the road.
TR?
Honestly, I hate to just say it's. I'm not sure on this, but I think if it's me, there's probably a lot. You got to read the situation maybe in the dressing room. Like this guy obviously gets down on himself, and he's playing, probably the worst hockey of his career. For me, I'm assuming every day, it's maybe a communication thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe he feels great in the room. He's the number one goalie. If he does, fine. To me, on the surface, I agree with Struds. If I had no idea and I just had to pick right now who starts Saturday, I'd say Skinner. But you don't know what's going on in the room. Maybe he's over it. Maybe he was going through a personal dilemma. I don't really know. And I know this is an answer that's an easy out. I'm still on the fence, but I don't know. When it comes to Jack Campbell, I'd have to say that someone in there probably really knows how he's feeling. You'd probably have to be in the room. On the surface, if this is a video game, I'm like Struts. I just say, okay, if it's apples and oranges, I take Skinner because I've never seen, I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen a goalie come in that's been so good in the past. And I know he's had blips, but that the last couple of performances were god awful. But I've stuck with him all year. I really think he'll come out of it. I know he's a good goalie. I understand what it's like to get down on yourself like that, but he's on a great team. It's not like he's on a last place team. I think the boys are going to, Skinner's picking him up now. Whenever he does go in, he's got a powerhouse of a team ahead of him that's going through a little bit of ups and downs, but I have every bit of confidence still. And I don't know why. I'm probably the only one that says that, but I really, all year, it was unfortunate, but those are just errors that are easily correctable. It's not like people are looking and hitting spots and, he's making mistakes. He's, it's like a tennis player that keeps serving it double fault. There's something in your own head. Whenever that gets corrected, okay, it's time to get back in.
How much time is too much time? I think that's the question that I would ask here. And TR, you're bang on the numbers, right? 873 save percentage. 4.27 goals against average. I mean, the numbers are just atrocious. And Leon Draisaitl did say that pretty much every start that Campbell's had or struggle that he's had, they've been hot garbage in front of him. And I do think there is something to that. The team has not defended well enough this year, and they have not been good enough in front of him. But his play has been nowhere near good enough. So Struds, you sign him to the big deal. He's supposed to be your starter. Long term, you probably still feel like he's going to be your starter. And so part of the priority has to be on getting him back on track. That has to be part of their thought process, not just, well, if he's gone, he's gone. Guess we'll have to play Skinner. You have to try and maneuver this player back into a confident zone. So I guess my thought would be, after that last brutal performance that he had, do you really look all the way to the New Jersey start? The problem here is the Oilers didn't have any games. They've played twice since then, and Skinner got both those starts. If there were 3 or 4 games in there, this would have potentially made more sense. But you're now pushing them well over, you're over 10 days now between starts. Like, would it not potentially have been, okay, get ready for Vegas. Stewart's got the next 2. Get ready for Vegas. Dial in with Schwartzy. Work on your game. Maybe you go talk to Dustin Schwartz and say, how much time do you need? Would they really have eyeballed the Jersey game that far out for how much time Campbell needs?
Well, what's the rush? What's the rush to get him back to make him feel good? There's 82 games in a season. And I think this is where at times I think we all get so just focused on the right now. There's 82 games. You want to get this guy right for the long term. So, maybe the goalie coach and the goalie and the head coach will all get together and say, you know what? You're right. Rishaug, you're right. He should be back on Saturday. And that may be the case. But if there's any thought at all that some more time working with the goalie coach and just a mental break, think about what he's been through. This guy signs the first big contract of his career. That in itself is a lot to take on because now you feel like you have to be the man. You have to be one of the best, all those things. So I think that's a mental adjustment. Then you're moving to a new city where expectations, although they are similar to his former team, this is a Stanley Cup team. People feel this is a Stanley Cup team. Those expectations are on there. Then you have a tough first start against a huge, in a big game. And then it just kind of goes off the rails. We've never felt comfortable. I don't believe the team has done him any favors as well. So I'm very hesitant to really put this all on Campbell. But I want to give him a mental reset and a deep breath, a pause, watch a couple games, get your game in order so he really feels confident coming out of this and he heads into the game in Jersey. And I don't know what he's going to do. I know what I would do, and that would be not play him. I'd go Skinner on Saturday because he'd give me good starts. And honestly, Campbell is you can't play more than 50 games. So you don't know if Skinner's going to keep this good play up in January and February. Get those games in now when Skinner's playing well, so you can pad his stats and give Campbell some break time, some rest time, even though.
Do you think going on the road makes a big difference, TR? Like if you got to pick between Vegas at home or Jersey on the road, does it make more sense to give them the road start from a pressure standpoint?
Well, if again apples and oranges, black and white, then I do. Yes, I guess to sum up what I was saying earlier, I find it hard to put a timeline on the mental part of it. You don't really know unless you're around the guy. Like, if it's a pulled groin or if it's a bad shoulder, I could tell you right now what I think. But I don't know. You're in that room. It seems to me with Jack Campbell, it's mental. How do you put that timeline? I don't know. But again, that's not a bad idea. It's a long season, like Strut says. The more I think about it, and a start in New Jersey on the road, away from home. I'm saying that as a positive. I used to really enjoy that. I think I've reiterated that before on this program. But I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's 82 games. You forget, right? Think of how many times already this year there's been panic buttons hit throughout the league. And then, a week later, it's like, you know what? Yeah, it's a long year. So, I think only Jack Campbell knows the answer to that, and it's hard to put a timeline on a mental kind of hiccup.
We do have a goalie on this panel, so we should invite him into this conversation. As sick as he is, assuming he can get through some conversation, Zuby is a tender. One of the last points I'll make here on this is that you give him this time and you work on some things, and it ends up being like 10, 11 days between starts. And he goes in and doesn't play great. Like, what's next? Like, where do you go from there? You give him a month off? So I think, I think this is about what time does Jack Campbell need to get himself squared away, and wherever that is, based on your conversations with him and the goaltending coach, you go. And if that ends up being this Saturday, I can kind of understand it, because it is. You get 8-10 days between starts. And I think, that I don't know that at what point it starts to do more harm than good. Zuby, you've heard this whole conversation. You're a middling to below average recreational goaltender. What would you do, buddy?
You know what? You guys you've done such great. There's been such wonderful arguments and discussion here that you've swayed me both. I've been like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think what's kind of would be missing for me, and Ryan, you see it every day, is how's practice going? That would be the question I'd have to ask between his ears. How's practice going? I do believe that the road start that's probably the easy from a pressure standpoint. If pressure is what's affecting Jack Campbell, the road start I think is easier for sure, but doesn't seem on the surface level like a terrible time to put him in against Vegas. Skinner, even though he played well, is coming off of a loss. He's your guy. You've got all the money invested in him. Maybe you've seen enough in practice to say, yep, he's going. But I mean, what Struds is saying is so true. You've got Skinner doesn't have a full season under his belt. He's playing so well right now. Your
ride him while he's hot.
Not So if that's sitting on the fence enough for you guys,
the goalie ends up sitting on the fence of all of that. Holy smokes!
That's why my analysis is asked for so infrequently.
Well, no, we'll tack it up to the cold medication. No, some really good points there. The other thing to mention too here is to talk about all these days between games. They also didn't skate for 2 days in a row, so it's not like he had Monday, Tuesday practice time before the Wednesday game, and it'll only end up being 4 or 5 practices to kind of get himself squared away. But either way, I think we can all agree that they're going to need Jack Campbell at some point here, because if the answer is to just ride Stuart Skinner as the main guy all year, I still expect Skinner to have some ups and downs this season. And throwing all your eggs in that basket, I think it's early for that. And so, Struddy, to me, this is in large part about how you keep 2 goaltenders significantly engaged here.
Yeah, and I do feel strongly that Campbell's going to find his game. There might become a time when Zach Hyman doesn't score for 8 goals. It doesn't mean you have to throw him on the scrap heap, right? So I think that he will find his game, and allowing him and giving him time to reset. I really think this contract, you hear the way he speaks after games, how hard he is on himself. Imagine the pressure he's put on himself with a $25 million contract. I think is significant, and he's got to come to grips, understand it doesn't matter. Just do what you did before. That's why you're getting paid those money.
Final word, TR.
And at some point, you got to put on your big boy pants and go to work. At some point, he's a good goalie. The law of averages says over 82 games, this guy's going to be all right. He started horribly. Now think about it, guys. We've all played hockey. We've all had long seasons. I can think of at least a half dozen, probably 10 seasons that exact same thing happened at the beginning of the year. But at the end, Brian Boucher, there's an example. You want to go all west? We brought him out. Supposed to be this big, great goalie. First month, I was like, what's going on here? We're losing 8-4. Then he ended up being one of the best goalies in the WHL and with a long NHL career. That's just one example.
How did he do for you in the playoffs in '96, TR? How did he do for you in the playoffs?
Kick one in front of the net or something with one of those.
You remember the playoff series. Don't act like you forget the playoff series.
Of course, I certainly do remember all too well.
All right. Great stuff, guys. That was Takeaways brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC. Well, we began this podcast by, giving each other some loving feedback. Do we want to do grades on the podcast today here, Struddy? I think Zuby has an excuse, but he's definitely a D- for the goaltender being on the fence about who should start in the goaltending situation. There's my grade. Anybody else want to grade anyone?
I like TR Zip today. I feel like he had a very vigorous morning. He brought a lot of energy to this show today.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. And you know what? I'll throw it back, Struts. You were on point. You were very to the point, very professional, and you look good again today. Schauger, what do you guys think of Schauger?
He was also here. Present is how I describe his show.
I'm present and accounted for. Solid B.
Yeah.
Solid B. You know what? I'll take it. I was up late at the game last night. I didn't get to leave. Struds, you left after 2 periods, didn't you? You beat traffic.
No, I had to
that guy and then taped the game.
I had to do the post game, but if I'm evaluating us as a line, TR and I are Lindros and Leclerc, and you're Renberg on the. You were there. Present. Present.
You're there.
But contributing.
Present.
His name is it's part of the Legion of Doom. He's part of it. It's a 3-man unit.
You guys are forgetting who signs the checks around here. You're forgetting who butters the bread.
Don't ask the question if you don't know the answer.
Guys, are we going to enter like a rec hockey charity tournament or something this year? Is this going to? I mean, I know Edmonton.
Well, we got to find a goaltender. Clearly, we'll have to find a goalie that's half decent and.
A goalie can touch the crossbar.
I'll send you guys my demo reel. I'll send you my. Yeah, well, that's not fair. I see guys on their knees and their shoulders are still at the crossbar. That's an unfair
Zuby's the kind of guy. He's the type of goalie who has to put his water bottle on the back of the net so he can reach it, not on top.
Oh, wow. We start by devastating each other's souls, and we close by devastating each other's souls today. Nothing but fun here on Got Your Back, YEG. Thanks, fellas. We'll talk to you. I don't know when we'll do the next one. We'll take a look at the schedule and sort it out. Have a great day. Thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions, folks. We really appreciate you paying some attention to us and coming along for the ride that is Got Your Back. Big thanks to our sponsors, of course, Mr. Dirk, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and, of course, our good friends over at Weiss Johnson. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I'm going to go try and find some hair thickening product of some sort now. See if I can stop the momentum that's clearly happening, the inevitable.
Tick-tock.
See you, boys.
See you, boys.